Welcome to Malbec Bay. We are Victoria and Mercedes, and we're going to be your guides during this wine tasting. Today, you will learn a system approach to wine tasting. This will improve your skills and teach you how to taste wine in detail. Let's begin by learning about wine glasses. A wine glass is composed of 4 parts: the base, the stem, the bowl, and the rim. When holding the glass, you should do it by the stem instead of the bowl to avoid raising the temperature of the wine within. There are 4 steps of tasting wines: looking, smelling, tasting, and assessing the quality of the wine. Know that you have a tasting grid. Use it to write your notes and qualifications. First step is looking. Here you will assess the intensity as well as the color of the wine. Intensity is how deep the color of the wine is. The best way to assess intensity is by holding the glass at a 45-degree angle against your white placemat. Look through the wine from above to see how far the color extends from the core, which is the deepest part of the bowl, to the rim, the shallowest depth of the wine. A white wine that has a clear rim should be described as pale. If the pigment reaches almost to the rim, it should be described as deep. Red wines can also be assessed by looking down through an upright glass. In this instance, look at the point where the stem of the glass is attached to the bowl and assess how easily the stem can be seen. If the wine is lightly pigmented from the rim to the core, it can be described as pale, and it should be easy to see the stem of the glass. If the wine is intensely pigmented right up to the rim, it should be described as deep. Looking down through the wine, it should be impossible to see the stem. Assessing the color of the wine is also part of looking. For this part, use the color guide in your tasting grid. The most common color of white wine is lemon. If there is a hint of orange or brown, the wine is gold. Wine with a very evident level of browning would be described as amber. The most common color for red wines is ruby. Wines with a visible blue or purple color are described as purple. If there is a visible orange or brown, it is described as garnet. If the wine is more brown than red, it might be described as tawny. The second step is smelling. Describing wine aromas can be a challenging task. First, swirl the wine to release the aromas into the glass. Then, place your nose over the rim and take a short sniff. Aromas have 2 components: intensity and characteristics. Aroma has a general rule. If the aromas are immediately apparent when you insert your nose into the glass, they are pronounced. If even after swirling you find the aromas hard to detect, the intensity is light. Otherwise, it falls into the medium category. Aroma characteristics refers to the aroma that you can smell. Can you smell fruit, herbal, spices, oak, coffee, mushroom? Use your aroma wheel to describe these aromas. The third step is palate. There are many different components to be considered on the palate, and it's often necessary to take more than 1 sip in order to assess it fully. Sip and swish your first sip like it's a mouthwash. Swallow it. Now breathe in and breathe out through your nose. When you are assessing the taste, you are going to think about the structural parts of the wine: sweetness, acidity, tannin, alcohol, body, and finish. Sweetness is the taste of sugars present in the wine. Dry wines have no sugar. If it has a tiny amount of sugar, the wine is described as off-dry. Medium covers wines with the presence of sugar, but generally are not as sweet as a dessert wine. Acidity. All wines contain acidity. What you are judging is how much acidity they have. Acid is detected on the tongue, where it causes a tingling sensation and makes your mouth water. The higher the level of acidity in the wine, the more your mouth waters and the longer it waters for. Tannins are an important structural component only of red wines. Tannins bind to your saliva and cause your mouth to dry up and feel rough. Tannins can sometimes have a bitter taste and linger at the back of your mouth. Alcohol contributes to the body of the wine. High levels of alcohol can make a wine seem heavier in the mouth, and it can give you a hot, burning sensation. Body is an overall impression of how the wine feels in your mouth, using the sense of touch rather than taste. but is created by the prior components, sugar, acidity, alcohol, and tannins, all working together. Finish is the collection of sensations after you have swallowed the wine. When assessing the length of the finish, you should only count the persistence of the pleasant flavors. Generally, if the pleasant flavors disappear and structural components such as acid is the lingering flavor, the finish is short. When the flavor lasts as long or beyond the structural components, the finish is described as long. The 4 steps is to draw a conclusion. What do you think about this wine? It is the most subjective part of wine tasting. There are different criteria when assessing the quality of the wine. Look for balance. This can be thought of how one element of the wine helps to balance another. Sugar can be balanced by acidity, making the wine seem more refreshing. How was the finish taste? Wines that have a short finish are assessed as lower in quality than those that have a long finish. For example, if you're left with an unpleasant burning sensation from alcohol, this would not be considered positive quality. Do you feel the intensity of flavors? When discussing quality, some people also refer to a wine's intensity as its concentration. Aside from the intensity of the wine, consider if the wine tasted how you expected it to, given the grape variety and the production methods chosen. Was the wine complex? Complexity refers to the combination of flavors and aromas in the wine. It comes from the primary aromas and flavors alone, or from the combination of these with secondary and tertiary aromas. When placing a wine into a quality level, think if this wine can be assessed against these 4 criteria. An outstanding wine will have met all 4, an acceptable wine will have met only 1. And this concludes your tasting experience. Now you have learned the mastery of tasting wine. We hope that you use this approach with every wine you taste, and in doing so, you will continue to improve your skills. We thank you for spending time with us. We hope you enjoyed this experience. Make sure you check our website to continue your wine learning experience. Salud!